who is most likely to become an enabler within that within the narcissist circle. So number one, family members, like we saw in the Gabby Petito case, parents or other relatives, particularly parents who raise their child as the golden child, are likely to protect that person's image, because that person, the narcissist's success or image also, is a direct reflection of themselves, and they want to protect that. So if the parent is narcissistic, then they can be, a very close alliance that's formed. Current romantic partners can be enablers. So whether it's a current or ex-partner, an ex-partner maybe who's trauma bonded to that narcissist. Obviously friends, long-term friends who believe the narcissist's charm and excuses, or even, in a workplace situation, coworkers or bosses may protect or enable a narcissist if they're a valuable member of the team and they don't want to have them, punished for something. And people are more likely to become enablers if they fear the narcissist's wrath or reaction, if they do speak up, or if they feel responsible for protecting the narcissist. Or even just to preserve their own safety. If enabling the narcissist keeps them in the narcissist's good graces, then, of course, they're going to step up and protect them or not call them out on their bad behavior. So that's kind of who typically becomes an enabler.
So real quick, we want to also cover why the narcissist needs an enabler and an enabler. I think what I'd like to start with is narcissistic people are more concerned about appearing to be a hero and appearing to be a good person with little desire to actually uphold the morals and values that they want their outside audience to appear that they have, right? So they only care about what you think and what you see. They don't care about actually following through with being a good person, right? And so enablers serve the narcissist in a few different ways. And so they maintain the false image. So enabler will make sure, and it's always, the classic example is like the golden child son and the enabling narcissistic mother. That's really a very common duo. Because, if the son gets any sort of bad name or bad rep, or, they file for divorce or whatever, it reflects negatively on her parenting in some way, shape, or form, right? It makes the entire family appear to be flawed.
Right.
So the enabler helps keep up the facade in some way, shape, or form. Another purpose they serve for the narcissist is helping deflect accountability. So they help kind of rewrite history to make the narcissist look innocent and the victim look unstable or overreacting or dramatic, especially in those cases whenever you finally leave, like when they'll participate in that smear campaign, and they will make sure that you are the villain, and that their narcissistic friend, son, daughter, or whatever was the victim in some way, shape, or form, and it'll turn into some sort of my poor narcissistic baby.
Right.
And then gaslighting and reinforcing confusion. So enablers kind of help with reinforcing all of the different manipulation and gaslighting abuse tactics. So like, are you sure that's what oh my gosh, I experienced that. Are you sure that really happened? And if you've read my book, I start out with the event that kind of,
wow.
Yeah. So in the very first question I got asked was, are you sure? And I was sitting right there. Yes, I'm positive. I'm 100%, 1000% positive.
Did it make you doubt your reality though? Like walking away from that, did you feel like just that being questioned like that, even though you knew the truth, did it shake your reality at all? Were you did second guess yourself, or were you?
I didn't second guess myself. I didn't second guess myself. I kind of knew that the allegations were huge and that it was almost like no one would want to believe that truth.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like an understanding, like I can understand why you would question that. But I'm not questioning. You know what I mean? It was more.
It was that makes sense.
It was more so I'm positive. Moving on. Like sorry that this is hard to accept, but it happened.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. So, or they were just joking. That is so classic in so many different scenarios. A lot of clients that I work with always say, I mean, they were just kidding, but the joke is old, or how do I stop reacting, or how do I stop being so sensitive, and those sort of things. Like those are the kind of things that I hear. And so many things are said in jest. My grandma used to say that all the time. And so many things are said in jest. And so it wasn't a joke. It was intentional. If you feel that over and over and over again, in a joking situation, even after you've expressed that it's hurtful, it's no longer a joke. It's a tactic.
Yeah. It's an insult disguised as a joke.
Yes. And another big one, like why it's important for a narcissist to have an enabler, is they help keep the victim isolated. So they make the survivor feel guilty for setting boundaries, right? I'm trying to think of a few examples, and family sticks together no matter what. They love you. You should forgive them. I will say, in terms of isolation, when you're dealing with enabling family members, a lot of times the narcissistic family will isolate victims from their family. And they'll do it in very subtle ways. So if something happens, like a disagreement between you and your mom, or you and your aunt, or you and someone you're like a close friend or family member, and they see that family member as a person who can help you see like reality, and they care about your well-being, and they know that they will speak up if they see something something wrong. A lot of times family members of the narcissist and the narcissist will isolate you from your family, and a lot of times they will use those sort of events. Like if you have a disagreement, it happens, in family, you have arguments, you have disagreements. They will use instances like that to start planting little seeds of doubt to make you kind of feel like your family is no longer for you, and therefore you will start to kind of disconnect from your family, so that you get firmly planted into this narcissistic family system, and then they can all kind of manipulate you. And I know sometimes it sounds dramatic when you talk about it like that, but it happens. It happens so often and so gradually and naturally almost when you're in these relationships, that once you get to a certain point, you kind of step back and you're like, oh my God, how the hell did I get here?
Right.
Sorry, that was a long-winded explanation on why the narcissist needs enablers. And those were four big ones.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. And Michael says, yes, this topic needs to be covered more and more. And we agree. Thank you, Michael, for tuning in. And
hi, Michael.
we want to do an episode on this because we do think it's an important one to cover. So thanks for watching. Okay, so how does all of this impact the survivor? Obviously, it takes an emotional toll. So just all of the feelings and things that come up by the enabler, protecting the narcissist. It's self-doubt, that the gaslighting, questioning your own reality, that feeling of betrayal, just feeling unsupported in the situation, and just overall feeling stuck. Like you said, isolation is a huge part of abuse. And with the amount of confusion that the narcissist creates in the victim, it just makes it harder and harder to leave. We've talked about that at length when we talk about the cycle of abuse and all of those reasons why it keeps us feeling stuck. There also is an impact typically post breakup. The enablers, like we've talked about, can participate in the aftermath, whether it's a smear campaign or in the court setting where enablers protecting that the false stories, the false testimony in favor of the narcissist, or even pressuring the survivor to get along with the narcissist, to co-parent when it's a really toxic and harmful situation. So the toll that can happen from just an enabler being involved is pretty big. So again, another reason why it's important to understand that.
Yeah.
So how do people protect themselves against this type of person?
Yeah, I would say for people that are still in active abuse, the abuse tactics feel kind of similar. They feel kind of similar the abuse tactics that happen with the narcissist, right? So they'll dismiss your concerns, prioritize the narcissist's feelings over yours, and maybe guilt trip you for setting certain boundaries. Excuse me, I'm getting over an illness. But my throat is starting to dry up. But
take a drink of water if you need to. It's okay. Take a pause. I got my tea.
I ran out of my tea because I needed an extra caffeine boost before we joined today.
Yeah, I did too.
So I think listening to your nervous system will be a big one. If you feel dysregulated, and I think we have some recordings on what it feels like to be dysregulated. I know we've talked about it a few times. I just am off the top of my head. I can't remember. If you're interested in seeing any of those, please go back and watch some of our previous videos. But if you feel dysregulated when you are around an enabler and you feel like something is off, your body is likely telling you that you're not in the presence of a safe person. And figuring out whether or not you are dysregulated it's kind of easy. Your heart may start to race. You may get really shaky or nervous and not really understand why that person's presence makes you nervous. And that's typically because you're not around safe people. Now, you'll probably need a mental health professional to tell you if you're experiencing like PTSD symptoms of something from the past, or if this person is not safe. But typically, if you're around someone and you feel dysregulated, something is off. And so you'll want to set boundaries. What's that?
Mm-hmm. I said, listen to your gut, people.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And the right people will understand, right? Like if you're experiencing that and you go to a therapist and it's something, from your past is coming up and you need to take the time to work through that, take the time to work through that. Someone who's not an enabler isn't going to, one, they probably won't even notice, but two, they'll understand. They'll understand even if, they do notice. So setting boundaries is going to be key. So when you want to cut ties, if they refuse to see the truth and are harming your healing process, right? So if you set a boundary with a person who like, hey, I don't want to talk about my ex anymore. It's not healthy. And, I want to maintain a relationship with you, but it will not encompass talking about my ex at all in any way, shape, or form. If they can't respect it, cut ties, and then when to keep distance. So if they're unavoidable, setting boundaries on exactly what you're talking about or how those conversations proceed. But you're going to want to distance yourself and limit contact, because enablers are going to constantly support the narcissist. And the only way that you're going to be able to really fully heal is to sever ties with anyone that is going to be supportive of them.